Imna Along, Honorable Minister, Higher Education and Tribal Affairs, Government of Nagaland. Shall we all greet him with a round of applause? Sir, we are really honored and blessed to have you here in our midst this evening. Now I hand over the time to our chairperson.
Jubilee greetings to one and all. I am extremely delighted to welcome you all to the Day 2 academic session of the 29th Angami Students' Union Biennial General Conference, also commemorating 75 years of Koima Subdivision Students' Conference and 50 years of Angami Students' Union. We cannot be more privileged and honored to have Sir Temjanim Nalong, Honorable Minister, Higher Education and Tribal Affairs, as our academic guest and debate critic. His humble presence here today exhibits his immense love for the students' community. We are also privileged to have the presence of our Honorable Advisor for Technical Education and Election, Sir Metoyoka. Debaters from the four range would debate under the topic, the National Education Policy 2020 will ensure quality education in Nagaland. Order of session, introduction, debate competition, speech and debate critique by our academic guest, special number, Anwar Rokovi Kawakri, extempore, host Eli Asano Zashumo, summing up. This is the order of our program. The leader of both the motion and the opposition would be given 5 minutes each to present their statement. The rest of the members would be given 3-minute time. For the leaders, in the 4th minute, a warning bell would be rang, and on the 5th minute, the final bell will be rang. For the other members, on the 2nd minute, the warning bell will be rang and the final bell will be rung in the 3rd minute. The participants for the motion, Ketuniko Yatu, representing the Western Angami Students' Union, leader. Zaviko Topinyo Sasu, Alunyo Tenyo Nasu, Dezevishe Nakro Chakrama Students' Union. For the opposition, Onoku Tukur Sasu, leader. Vizosenyo Shaya Nasu, Kevitsako Nagi Chakrama Students' Union, Kezeviko Guire Western Angami Students' Union. These are the participants who will be taking part in this debate. National Education Policy 2020, approved by the Union Cabinet of India on 29 July 2020, outlines the vision of India's new education system. The policy is a comprehensive framework for elementary education to higher education, as well as vocational training in both rural and urban India. Soon after the introduction of National Education Policy, there has been an uproar from the various fraternity of our nation, putting across positive and negative impacts. However, we are privileged to be here and to learn from today's debaters, and that I am affirmed that we will be informed as to how the students' community comprehend the new education policy. I am hopeful that the debaters would take us through an exciting academic trip through this national education policy. The timekeeper for the debate, we have Anno Kekrivile Nagi. Let me have the privilege to invite on stage Mr. Ketuniko Yatu from Wasu, the leader of the motion, to come over and take his time, to be followed by the leader of the opposition, Ono Kutsukur from Southern Angami Students' Union. You may take your time one after the other. As a reminder, a time of 5 minutes each would be given to both of you.
Respected Chairperson, respected our academic guest and debate critic, respected panel of judges, well-wishers, and all my dear fellow student friends. Today, I stand here in front of you to speak on the topic National Education Policy 2020 will ensure quality education in Nagaland in motion's view. First, let us know what this National Education 2020 is all about. This is a beautiful reform, and it's well written and I should say a well thought of policy. It aims to reform all the education policy which existed earlier. I'm not saying that the old education policy is bad, but it has served its purpose. Now we are looking to a new dimension, a new change that is happening around us, the 21st century. So, keeping that in mind, the National Education Policy 2020 has come up with various reforms, both in the school education as well as the higher education. In school education, if I were to talk about each and every points that they have mentioned, this time will not be enough. And like I said, it is beautifully written and well thought of. In school education, they have made it compulsory from 3 years to 18 years. So that is a very good sign. And they have included both the pre-primary section, the kindergarten, as a part of the National Education Policy. And this National Education Policy will be looking after the all-round development, the holistic development of the student. Another interesting part is, which I think is the most important one, is multilingualism, which will be very beneficial to our Naga society also. Students will be allowed, students will be taught in their primary section in their own mother tongue. And with that, it will strengthen their foundation in learning. Another part is in middle section and in higher secondary sections to curtail the dropout rates. They have proposed various items such as midday meal, and also to ensure that the student stays in school. They are going to monitor the students. And higher education sector, they have introduced a multiple exit system in our 4-year degree program. The first year, if you are to exit, you will get a certificate. The second year, you will get a diploma. And the third year, you will get a bachelor's degree. And in the fourth year, if you have completed, you will get a degree with a research degree. So looking at it, these are which I think the most important in our context. There are so many beautiful things still left, such as the assessment of the students, which will be done 360, not only in books, but your sports. It may be sports, your life skills. It may be everything. They are going to assess the student in all the dimensions. And also, what's in it for our Naga society? How will it ensure quality education to our Naga society? If we take a look at it carefully, in our Nagaland, let's start from the elementary or the primary section. The students, the quality of the education that they are receiving is not up to the mark. So, I think this multilingualism or the teaching of their students in their own mother tongue will strengthen their knowledge, their foundation, both in science and maths. Imagine if you have a textbook, if you have access to textbooks that are written in your own mother tongue, wouldn't that be fun? That will be very interesting. Even your parents can read it and they can learn new things again. So I think this language will play an important role. And the way forward, I have so many things to say, but the way forward to Naga, for our Naga people, is each one, educate one in your hometown, in your area, so that we will be able to have a very bright future, which will be fulfilling the aspirational goals of India in the future. Thank you.
There is a tremendous gap between public policy and public opinion. Respected judges, debate critic, fellow debaters, and all of you present here. My name is Sonakot Zakray, and I'm here to represent the opposition against the notion National Education Policy 2020 will ensure quality education in Nagaland. No, it won't. First of all, I want to refute our proposition leader by saying that this policy is not at all beautiful. If at all it is anything, it is botched. It is flawed. This policy was passed by the cabinet and not by the parliament. It did not even consult the states before making a national policy. So it does not have the ground reality or the confidence or the to be called a national policy. So we cannot accept just as it is. It should go the proper channel. It did not go the proper channel. Multilingualism, as our proposition leader have said, this multilingualism, these national policymakers must not have considered the fact that India is a largely diverse country. Nagaland alone has 16 different recognized tribes. There are 16 different recognized tribes in Nagaland. These tribes have their own dialects and sub-dialects. And so to emphasize speaking and teaching in the mother tongues to the grades 5 or 8 is actually ridiculous and absurd. The core ideals of any education in any part of the world is again economic and social mobility. And by emphasizing to speak and teach in the mother tongue still the grades 5 and 8 is actually depriving our students and our future generations of this mobility. Next, our proposition leader have also talked about multiple exit and entry points. So now what happens is that students can now drop out after 1 year or 2 year or 3 year bachelor's course without actually completing it. That is stupid. That is senseless. In a state like ours where unemployment rate is 21.4%, the highest in the country, where graduates and postgraduates are finding it difficult to gain employment. What will you actually do with a degree that is incomplete? 1 or 2 year degree, you're basically a dropout. But with a degree, that degree is useless. Also, this national education policy is also stressing so much on vocational education. Vocational education this, vocational education that. But one thing we should understand about vocational education is that vocational education will actually bring, stressing too much on vocational education will actually bring the quality of our education down, and along with it, bring the economy down as well. Stressing too much on vocational education will harm our students because in a state like ours where unemployment rate is high and skepticism over the unemployment sector is justified, students will actually look at vocational education and look at this as an end and not a means, and look towards it and neglect their academics. And also, it will bring the economy down because, as a study done by the Human Services Bureau concluded that a person with a university degree earns twice as much over a lifetime as compared to a person without. And lastly, in the 66 page of document, only one page is devoted to implementation. And if you ask me, implementation is the most important portion of any policy. I mean, with all due respect to our Sir Temjen Inalong, he can promise us that he will raise the literacy rate of our state to 100% by next year. But we, as responsible citizens, we should not simply believe in him. Yeah, of course, we have elected him to that post, and so we should support him. But as responsible citizens, like I said, we should only believe in him after he has given us the assurance of how he is actually going to go about with his promise. So, what quality can we expect from a national policy that is so very ambitious about its destination, but is very suspiciously quiet on how it is actually going to take the journey? I rest my case. Thank you.
We have Engineer Tolkucho, Dr. Vito Yano, Eli Kivie Yale as our debate judges. Till now, national education policy is a beautifully written policy for the motion members. But the opposition member says it does not comprise the component to become a national policy. NEP indeed is an exciting topic to debate upon. Let us now hear from our members from the motion Zavikot Opinio Sasu and from the opposition Visosino Shaya Nasu. Both of you would be given 3 minutes each to present your statement.
Every success story is a tale of constant adaptation, revision, and change. Good evening, respected debate critic, adjudicators, members of the opposing team, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are debating on the topic, the new National Education Policy 2020 will ensure quality education in Nagaland, and I'm of the affirmative side. First off, the educational system in our country is rigid and inflexible. For instance, and our student cannot study any science-related subject in higher education. However, with the implementation of the new education policy, this problem can be tackled. Second, the status quo of education system is archaic and obsolete. Its examination system is merely based on repetitive and manipulative, and which is merely based on memorization of facts and figures, which has little or no real-life applications. Besides, departments in language, art, music, dance, theater, etc. will be introduced in the new education system. Therefore, these educational institutions will be at par with the global standards. In addition, the policy, this will tackle the lack of quality education in socio-economically backward areas, as it aims to give increased access, equity, and inclusion to these areas. Moreover, the policy will strengthen research and innovation in our state, as students are now required to do internships at grade 6. Now, my knowledgeable opponents have directed many viewpoints towards language. However, language policy of the new education system is only advisory in nature, and it is not mandatory. And also it is up to the states, schools and institutions to decide on its implementation. And also many of the opposing team, they will say that English language is going to be compromised. However, English being the official and original language of the state, the compromisation of the English can never happen. Therefore, all these reasons show that there is much to welcome in the new education policy. Therefore, the motion must stand. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Respected chairperson, timekeeper, critic, panel judges, and everyone present here. My name is Vizoshin Yosaya from Northern Angami Students Union, and I'm standing on the opposition of Treasury Bench. I will not go further into the details and meanings about what the NEP 2020 is all about, because our motions leader has done the honor of explaining it very clearly. So I would further go straight with my point. That is, the first thing I want to focus is to why we consider changes in our lives. So for instance, we do not just build a house and keep rebuilding it or renovating it, but we do so when it requires renovation, when it does not offer us the required benefits. So why are we considering changing our education policy when it is still ensuring us quality education? Let us take example from the people who are present here in our conference, who have adhered to the same policy that has been implemented decades back, that are successful today, that are educated and are coming out in flying colors. So why are we considering about changing our education policy? My next point is taking an example from the unprecedented global crisis that we are facing right now, that is the pandemic, because it is the most relatable situation in this phase of our life. So when saying this, I do not oppose on the functions or any system that we are following, but I just want to give a picture that what will happen and what happens if we change our education policy in our state. So the number of people I've come across have only complained about struggling in adapting to this online system, from the traditional to online system. So the same thing will happen if we change our education policy in our state. We as the students will suffer and take time to understand, to adapt, and to cope with this new education policy. So in the process of understanding and coping with the new education policy, we are going to lose many quality years. So it will give rise to the illiteracy rate for sure, and then it will also give rise to dropouts and also unemployment. So how can we say that it is going to ensure us quality education? My final point is, I do not have the authority or the right to say that it is going to hinder our education, but I just want to remind that it is just the surface that we see. Our surface is that we are thinking it as upgrading our education policy. But when we dive deeper into the sea, we get to face different kinds of fishes. Likewise, I just want to remind that this is just the surface that we see, and we give it another thought, second thought before encapsulating the NEP 2020 as ensuring quality education for the betterment of our generation and for our future generation as well. That is all. Thank you.
One after the other, the members are presenting their statements in a very affirmed manner. We are now confused as to whether the national education policy has more positive impacts or negative impacts. NEP would take us to global education competition, says the debaters from the motion. Whereas, on the other hand, national education policy is not seen as a policy to better our present educational system, says the members from the oppositions. Listeners, whom do we say yes to? Let us hear from the next two debaters. Untitled from NASU and Nagi from Chakrama Students Union.
When an education system does not seem to go well, the government take the initiatives and implement better education system to improve the society and to improve the human beings based on their needs. A very pleasant evening to one and all. Respected debate critics and academic guests, respected panel of judges, my dear friends from the motion, my opposition, and to all the students members present here in this conference hall. The NEP 2020 has emphasized on many things, but I'll be speaking on few points through which I will try to bring upon that the education, that the national education system will bring quality education in Nagaland. I am Awinyo Tenyo, representing Northern Angami Student Union, standing here to share my views in favor of National Education Policy 2020 to ensure quality education in Nagaland.
Good evening, respected judges, respected leaders and elders from different organizations, and respected honorable ministers present today here. My name is Nagi, and I will be representing the opposition. The motion has speak about many things about the new education policy 2020. According to Modi, this is a new strategy for self-reliance. However, Eastern Mirror, dated September 10, our principal director of school education, C. Srinivas, has stated that multilingual process of teaching, mode of teaching in our schools is not possible because we have many languages and sub-dialects in our state. In our state, language has become a barrier and not a bridge. The motion has also talked about midday meals. The midday meal policy provides for meal every week to the students. However, the same has not been implemented, and my point here is the new education policy 2020, however good it may be, if it is not implemented properly, it will not be a boon, but it will be a bane. As of now, the new education policy has not been implemented in all the states. However, Himachal Pradesh has introduced it. From this stage, we cannot state how it is going to be introduced and how it is going to be used. But from the previous policies implemented in our state, take an example of midday meal, which provides for daily midday meal to all the students. However, it is not been implemented properly. Therefore, I would like to raise my case by saying that if there is no check and balances for the same policy, then the policy may fail and will fail. Thank you.
When we agree to what we stand for, and when our affirmation gets intense, we are made to feel nervous. That was a classic example for the motion member to say yes to NEP ensuring quality education in Nagaland. On the other hand, members from the opposition group says NEP, if not implemented properly, would emerge as an obstruction to quality education. We have the last two debaters, Gezevisha Nakro from Chakrama Students Union and Gezeviko Gwiria from Western Angami Students Union.
Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, respected academic guests, judges, student body leaders, the leaders from various organizations, and you all, my dear friends. the debate topic, the National Education Policy 2020, will ensure quality education in Nagaland. In favor of motion. In one of his speech, Dr. Shashi Tharoor said, our country, India, being the world's most populated country after China, has a productive youth population of over 60 to 65% of the overall population. Quality education implemented in the country, our country in the next 10 to 15 years, should have, and our country will be the brain of the world while the rest of the world is aging. Quality education should emphasize mainly on vocational trainings and skill developments. Hence, the National Education Policy 2020, replacing the National Education Policy 1986, have made a major positive breakthroughs and a dreadful start of the decade. The National Education Policy 2020 aims in ensuring the quality education and also transforming the country into a vibrant knowledge society. As our state, Nagaland, being blessed with a lot of opportunities and talents, the education system in our states at present produces very few workforce for the state. But I believe and I'm sure with the implementation of the National Education Policy 2020, our state, Nagaland, will produce a productive workforce and a dynamic one. The National Education Policy provides the student to be a broad platform of flexibility where he or she can choose his subjects according to his or her liking. The mother tongue implementation of our new Education Policy 2020. Nelson Mandela quoted, "If you talk to a man with the language he understands, that will go to his head. But if you talk to a man in his language, that will go to his heart." And I believe this suffices everything, that the implementation of our mother tongue can play a very vital role in our new Education Policy 2020. Lastly, our state, Nagaland, with the implementation of National Education Policy 2020, can and should produce a productive, dynamic, and heavy workforce for the state and also for the country. Let us all be patient and cooperate in anticipation and see the better future that is ahead of us. Give you Uya. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Respected judges, honorable guests, ASU officials, my worthy opponents, and all the delegates present here. I am privileged to stand before you today to mark my points that the new education policy will not ensure quality education in Nagaland. I repeat, will not ensure quality education in Nagaland. Mark my words. Going through this new education policy got me working on my brain more than the effort I've put in understanding my lady. Education department is one of the most corrupted department in Nagaland regard to misuse of funds and backdoor appointment of teachers. Also, the malpractices and manipulations of examinations by the MPAC members. And do you still expect NEP 2020 to happen? Lack of professional support in many colleges provides quantity educations, which produce first-class degree but third-class education. As a result, educated employed cases are on rise. It was in 1964 the Kothari Commission recommended allocation of 6% GDP on education. Why implement it now and not the past years? It is disturbing to see that corruption and tribalism has become a way of life for the Naga people. Until and unless corruption is curtailed by anti-corruption laws, the implementation of NEP will be a far cry. Although our leaders have come with a very good policy to bring a revolution in the education system of India, implementation is the worry here. How far will this go, or how far will this be successful? We don't know this. Thank you.
Lucky boy, ke thopudi ke yuchaya mu lucky boy ke yuchadi ke thopuya Q letushi su nigo giba. As the 8 debaters has thrown equal analysis on the new education policy, let me not outline their statement, but give 2 minutes each to both the leaders from motion and opposition group for summing up. I give time to Ketuniko, Yotsu, and Onuko Chakra. Kindly stick to 2 minute time.
The opposition have stated their statements, and I am here again to speak on the good points of the NEP again. So the NEP 2020, as I have mentioned earlier, is a very good policy, and it will be implemented and it will be successful. I can assure you that. When we take a look at the viewpoints that our friends have shared, our friends from the opposition have shared, they are talking about multilingualism is not possible. See, I'll tell you one thing. Whenever there is a good thing going to happen, there are lots of oppositions. But when it becomes successful, everyone comes saying, congratulations. So, I would like to say that NEP 2020 is not just a good view on paper. It's going to be reality. You will see. With the changing in the technology, it is going to be integrated with our education system. We will have learning in virtual reality, and that is going to be very interesting. Imagine if you can see things while you're studying about it. It will be very easy to understand. Last but not the least, let me tell you this. When I wrote the Pythagoras theorem in Tenidia, I found out that the hypotenuse is equal to, the square of hypotenuse is equal to the square of opposite side and the square of the base. Sum together. If I say it in Tenidia, hypotenuse, get chatho where po square chasa, mo po opposite side mo po base nya square chasa ke sasor ke tu aje. How many of you could understand that? It was that easy, right? So that is the reason why I'm telling you, language is important. And with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Sorry for my nervousness earlier. I was so out of word that this policy is so bad that I was so out of word. So our proposition leader has said that he can assure us that this will be implemented. I said earlier, in this 66 page of document, only one page is devoted to implementation. And that page does not even show how they are going to go on about with this plan. It is only beating around the bush. So how can you say that how can you assure us that it is going to be implemented? This is just a bag of empty promises. It is like your high school lover telling you, "Aya baby, I will never leave you," and then goes on to break your heart into 100 million pieces. And here have also talked about multilingualism again. I think I made myself clear earlier. This is reality. It looks good in paper, not in reality. In Nagaland, India is a very diverse country. Nagaland alone has 16 different tribes, and these 16 tribes have their own dialects and sub-dialects. And so, if an Angami student goes and study in Makokchung, will he be taught in Tengidia, or will he be taught in the same languages, Kangapela and Nina Myanmar? So, I want you all to understand that this policy is botched. It is flawed. It is not at all beautiful. I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the participants for debate. The National Education Policy 2020 will ensure quality education in Nagaland, yes or no? Let us keep that question in suspense, as later on our debate critic and the judges would throw their opinions on this debate topic. We shall now have a short time for presentations. Over to the computers.
Now, as I call out your name, I request you to kindly raise and receive a token of appreciation. Firstly, we would like to acknowledge our academic guest, Shri Temjen Imna Along, Honorable Minister, Higher Education and Tribal Affairs, Government of Nagaland, with a token of gratitude. Sir, may you kindly stand and receive the presentation. Shri Kevidezo Peter Rutsa, Vice President, BJP Nagaland. Shri Krelie Hilso, Kohima District President, BJP. Shri Vizotso Tase, Vice President, Kohima District, BJP. Shri Paul Papineau, State Executive Member. Ms. Alenio, Superintendent, Bright Morning Star Children Home. Mr. Roko V. Kawakrie. Our host for this evening, Asano Zasumo. Our debate judges, Engineer Tol Pucho, Dr. Vito Yano, Ili Kevie Yale. Now I hand over the time to our chairperson, Shri Vimeyako Vito, Member Program Committee.
Ngo mi krauzowe mi uzie simuri uzagin usibaya deite vorn go terso chsekeba kebataw no temzen nalong mi kra uzie simuri poza sibaya mu poza simuri poza sibaya. I hope Sharmedu will translate that to our sir later on. From envisioning polytechnic institutes to full-fledged degree institutes, from invigorating sports meet to intercollegiate Olympic, an elected representative of the people who has redefined governance into prominence. It is with great honor to invite our most respected academic guest and debate critic, Sir Temjen Nalong, to take over the podium for his speech. May we all rise up and receive him.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairperson. He looks very different after shaving his mustache and beard. I thought I knew him from behind, but as I saw him in front, he looks quite groovy and suave. The most honorable advisor to the Chief Minister, my brother and my friend Medo Yoka, who is the advisor to technical education and election. Thank you for coming again and again, and also with me. The respected President of Angami Students' Union, the student leaders who are present here at this 29th Angami Students' Union Biennial General Conference. Obviously, the chairperson, the president of ANSU, who is my dear brother and friend, my colleagues of the BJP party, Nagaland State, who have accompanied me, Aleno, a dear friend, thank you for being here with me. And obviously, I see Imli has run away, Onan is there, and my dear friends who share together with me all the time, Zoto and Totse at Angami Murong all the time. A very good evening to each and every one of you. The organizing team, you have done it quite well. The judges of this debate, the national education policy, thank you for being there. And especially the speakers for the motion and against the motion on the national education policy. The time given to all of you, I believe, was too little. And also, I believe that all of you were doing quite well, except for the fact that you should study more of the national education policy and ensure that your debate points have enough material to say for it or against it, which was a little bit lacking. It's just my opinion, but the remaining is for the judges to judge. I, being the Minister for Higher Education here, with regards to the national education policy, I would like to give a brief outline on behalf of me, on behalf of the Honorable Advisor for Technical Education, who is also a part of the national education policy, and on behalf of the school education. Nevertheless, times are changing. And through the independence of our country called India, in the year 1947 till now, the education policy needed a very constructive change. Nevertheless, to say, if we look at it through the prism of our deprivation of our state Nagaland, it may seem almost impossible to implement it. I understand what against the motion are also speaking. But one needs to know that the national education policy is a policy 2020 to 2040. We have been given time for 40 years to implement this national education policy. My dear fellow student leaders of the Angami Students' Union, and also through this platform, to all the students, unions, leaders, academicians, and those who are pursuing excellence in the field of education, I appeal to all of you to study the national education policy well. Many a times, we the Naga people, we do not give much assertion to policy making. And that is the issue that has brought our state to such a situation today. We have said it before, and we are saying it today. The government is big. Governance has been minimum because of various situations that we are facing and we have faced in the past. Nevertheless, we cannot blame only and not think of a brighter future. Are we a people that determines our present and our future with regret? Are we a people who are not willing to bring collective responsibility into the forefront of governance, which means upliftment of its people in every robust way? We have suffered the stagnations and the decline, deprivation of policy making in the past, of which the resultant situation is today's Nagaland. But I'm sure the present day government under the leadership of the Honorable Chief Minister, the PDA government, is trying to bring assertive changes to good governance in every way in the situations that are pertinent today. National education policy is one subject matter which has come from the Narendra Modi-led BJP government. For any policies to change, yes, we will have our criticism, we will have our cynicism, we will have our presumptions and our assumptions. But if we do not go by it and search the way for those things to be implemented, we will only be debating about it and not going forward. If I say a little bit more on national education policy, my judges may think that I'm speaking for the motion. But I would like to highlight a few things, nevertheless, judge them according to what they have spoken. A dynamic paradigm shift on education policy has come into being. I will not answer what they have spoken or on what they have debated upon the points. To implement it as a state government of Nagaland, it is the duty of the present-day government and the governments that will come in the future. But one of the most important things for us is, let us not look at the chaos that are surrounding. Let us focus at the goal and the streamline of the straight line that will lead us to the goal. And that only we can do it. If we are worried about the multilingual classes, if we are worried about just a certain issue, then we are going to always debate upon the new things which we may always find fault with. I know very well, today, among the Naga people, there are only 2 or 3 languages that are in, the degree courses. That is with regards to Tenede, Ao, and so on. And the remaining of the languages, whether it is Chagasang, whether it is Rengma, whether it is Zeliang, and remaining of the languages are still in a very primary and middle school level. If we are talking about a resurgent traditional Nagaland, then we have to be assured of the language that we speak is also our tradition. Many a times, we forget to focus on the traditional heritage that we have as a Naga people. Culture will keep on enterprising itself in the days to come. There was a time in Europe when all of Europe was under the culture of pop music and under the culture of the Beatles. Cultures will evolve through time. But the traditional heritage of our ancestors, of language, and of our practices, and of our belief in our traditional root has to be preserved. I take it as a welcome that as a Nagaland, as a people, even though we are very few in number, we will have the right and the strength to imbibe those traditional languages that our forefathers have given unto us into the subject matter of education. Strengthening our roots will become our traditional strength. Yes, we agree that India is a great country, a very big country. Every 100 kilometers or even every 20 kilometers, there is a change in the people group. But it is not an impossible task to implement it. Choice-based credit system is something that you have not talked about, which is such a welcome. If I elaborate on it too much, then you will not understand why I'm putting it across to you. and also multidisciplinary colleges. A college that will not only have science stream or today arts or commerce, but a college that will have all those multidisciplinary subjects in its pocket. At the same time, vocational, I want to be very brief. Today, we are talking about one of the most educated states in this country according to our population, Nagaland. One of the highest unemployed state according to our population, Nagaland. And one of the most employed state according to population, Nagaland. It is very contradictory. Because our employment is based only on government. So, my dear debaters, whether it is by back door, front door, window, or wall door, or any door, it is what the people of Nagaland have asked, and so this has been happening. I'm not trying to debate with any one of you. Stop asking for any kind of door, and we, the policymakers, like the honorable advisor and myself, we will make sure that you come only through the front door. But our policy goes on deprivation when the people who have elected us starts climbing through the window, through the bathroom, through the every other door, even through the roof, and comes down and puts pressure on us. Kindly educate our people. If a student is only going to have a degree, today we only give importance to a graduate or a postgraduate. But this policy will help our people to take education in a very inclusive manner, in spite of taking it exclusively. After your class 12, you still have a degree that is about what you have done it. You have done your 13th class, you'll have a certificate honoring of what you have done it. So it gives you a chance to be an educated man and an educated woman. Instead of saying, I failed BA, instead of saying, final year fail huise na? Many of our politicians have a lot of educational qualification issues, you know, during the last term. But now we can say, we have done this. No need to be afraid of being not a graduate or a postgraduate or anything. See, the ultimate ethos and the ideals of resting the policy depends on all of us. It depends on all of us. The ideal program rests upon us. There are some of the ills of this national education policy too. Not taking into cognizance of some of the issues that a small state like Nagaland faces. It is promoting mega colleges, mega institutions. And I was telling to my leaders in Delhi when Honorable Advisor Brother Meadow and myself were there, as he must very well remember. And the Honorable Minister took it into cognizance, if you believe that, and said, okay, we'll look into it. It is our duty to allow the government of India, the government of the day there, of the things that is not possible with us. Example, in Zanaputo Government College, we have only around 300 something students. Example, in Fake Government College, likewise, 300 something students. In Longling, in Yingli Government College, we have only around 200 students. Even if we make all the men of Nagaland work 24/7 into making babies, we cannot fill our colleges with mega student structures. Let me be very blunt and robust in that way. So how do we do that? Is something which we will have to push and pull through the process of implementing this national education policy. But overall, it is going to bring back the gross domestic output of our finances, which is going outside the state of Nagaland, back into the state of Nagaland. Economics is very important for Nagas, whether we understand it or not. Even a poor farmer will sell off the hard labor of his work and send his daughter or son somewhere to study so that he or she can have good education. The biggest problem that we are facing in Nagaland today is students that are not professionally there. We have graduates, we have postgraduates, but we do not have a lot of professionals. We do not have students or academically qualified people who are vocationally equipped to see and be there at the robust, trend-setting and changing environment of employability in the near future and today. We would like to see a graduate who is an expert, a degree or a certificate holder in plumbing. We would like to see a biochemist expert who has done, a graduation in any science stream, but he is good for the food industry, for the, baking industry, or for any industry that is needed. So when we are trying to bring all these things together, we should try our best that we try to implement them slowly and steadily. I was speaking with Dr. Lily, the principal of our Kohima Science College. I was telling her, yes, today you are autonomous. You have got yourself again certified as an autonomous college. Well done. They have done really well. But tomorrow, to make it into a state university, it needs to have the policy to strengthen itself, not only financially, but also academically. So why not introduce, together with science, arts, and even commerce, and even subject matter that is relating to religious studies? Today I was with my officers at my home with the higher education department. The problems that we are facing with the theological colleges. The Asian Theological Association is not an accrediting, university. It is just an association. Many theological colleges are accredited to it. Only a few are accredited to Serampur. Scholarships they are not able to get. And one of the highest paying studies in Nagaland is theological studies. I have seen that to study BTH or BD, the amount of academic fees are higher than normal colleges. So why we are not getting scholarships? It's because we don't have a university or the IC code that would give them the ability to apply for scholarship. So as a state university with the new national education policy, autonomous, we can introduce such kind of subject matters and researches and programs that will allow a vast networking of our youngsters to avail through various ideals and ideas. See, my dear debaters, let me put it this way. Today, with the sudden coming in July 2020 with the national education policy, we are seeing that we are all in a disarray. But the duty of all of us is not to see the chaos, but to bring assimilation of all those and make sure that how do we build the jigsaw puzzle. Only if we bring together things, and only if the policymakers, the academicians, and the departments, and the student bodies see through the line, the thin line, to allow those things to happen, then we will be able to solve it. I'm sure this biennial general conference of the Angami Students' Union is not the handiwork of one person alone. I'm sure that during this pandemic of COVID-19, to keep such robust social distancing, practicing to the SOPs, and also yet keeping your people and the aspiration of the students and the four rangers alive, rocking and doing well, is the assimilation of bringing together all your ideas together and giving responsibilities, and each person doing their responsible thing in the robust manner. That is why I and the Honorable Advisor is able to be here, Honorable Chief Minister could be here, and tomorrow it will be better again. So to make the national education policy in Nagaland robust, we need not be confused in any other way. But we have to sit together, think together, plan together, and work it out. Lastly, let me give you my concluding speech. Today at these times, I want to appeal to all of you to be very concerned and to have cognizance to know that we are in difficult times. The difficulty of today is the pandemic COVID-19. Thousands are losing their life every day. My dear friends, please do not take it lightly. Kindly give awareness to your near and dear ones. Kindly allow your homes to be secured. Your loved ones, your parents, your brothers and sisters to be secured. I have seen one very worrisome thing in Kohima town, in this city of Kohima. We are so naive and indisciplined, especially in the markets. I, on behalf of the government of this day, appeal to all of you to kindly not be too oversmart. Through your platform, send it across. If 50 people in Nagaland were to be in a critical situation, our government will not be able to handle it. Not because the government is weak, or not because the government is not assertive, but because you all will start going for agitation and you all will start to put blame on each other. But isn't it the responsibility of every citizen of Nagaland to be aware? The government is of the people, not of the ministers and advisors. So the people have to be aware. The people have to take it into cognizance. Minimum 3,000 to 5,000 people are dying every day in our country. People on the streets are taking oxygen, and oxygen is not available. Until the storm hits us, we don't regret. That is the problem of our people. Until the chaos hits us, we are not aware. Kindly prepare ourselves to fighting this pandemic in the best possible way this year also. Be the agent of helping somebody be aware. You cannot just go and catch hold of a COVID positive person. Be an agent of awareness and to help somebody who is in need. Lastly, when it comes to Naga political situation, when it comes to any issues of our state, my dear friends, be bold in spirit and in your heart. Speak what is the fact. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. What we are going to get and what we can get is what we have to study. How long will our state and our people live in chaos? How long will we keep on negotiating, or how long will we keep on dreaming something which is very difficult? As student leaders and student bodies, whether it is good or bad, whether it is inclusive or exclusive, any kind of political solution is not beyond you. It is not for the animals living somewhere else. It is not for the trees and the bamboo trees. It is not for the rivers and the streams, but it is for the Naga people. So may the people speak out without nepotism, cynicism, and presumptions. Do not assume things and judge. Take things into cognizance and be assertive to display and speak what is right for our people. I thank you all for inviting me. I thought I had COVID-19. Luckily, it came out negative yesterday. But I'm still very careful of not hugging any one of you. Because unknowingly I hugged someone last Saturday. Not a girl, okay? A boy, a man. I won't tell the name. And he became positive. The moment I heard that, I almost became positive. The psychological torture was too much. Because by the time I came to know that I met almost 400 people. So I was worried. And then, while going for that RT-PCR test, they put it too long inside. So I almost got cold also. But now I'm better. I'm much better. Kindly be aware. I have decided that this year I'm not going to hug anybody. And handshake will be a little bit far away. So let's keep social distancing. Let's keep doing well. Let's keep on asking for wisdom from God, who is our Almighty. And lastly, long live the Angami Students Union. God bless the Angami people and the future leaders of our Naga people who will emerge from the Angami tribe too. We all will be blessed. So I will say, Kuk Nalim, at the same time, Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. We shall now be enthralled by a special number from Enor Kovi Kawakri, after which the host for extempore Eli Asano Zashomo may take over.
so sure for thee. Aquel cuja persetio te